Quilt people of America. All right, we're back, and everybody can relax because I'm back in boy drag. People couldn't handle that, Captain. Oh my God, I was hemorrhaging like followers. Like, oh, I guess that's where the line is. Okay, bye. Thanks for stopping by. Bye, much appreciated. Yeah, what are you saying? What's that? Ducks? Yeah, no. What? Trucks? No. Oh, yeah, let me check on that. Yeah, I have no more of those left to give. Sorry. Anyhow, I have learned a lot about just finishing out the trim of clothes. Okay, so if you've made clothes before, you're probably going to be thinking, what is this guy talking about? That's totally wrong. It's totally fine. Because I have discovered what works for me. And my sister, I don't know if you know this, but my sister is one of the people who created Lululemon. Yeah, so all the yoga wear and stuff like that, that's her company. And so I've been calling her because, again, like, even though my mom was a sewing teacher, she never really taught me how to sew. Everything I learned after I left home. And so it's been, just kind of a process. Mostly, as you know, I'm self-taught. So I just discover as things go along and just kind of figure it out, and I don't really know if it's right or not, but it works for me. So I wanted to show you today, just in case you've never done clothes like me. I've only ever done quilts. That's all I've ever sewn, right? So this was all news to me. And so I called my sister Laura and I said, how do you finish off clothes, like around the neckline and stuff like that? And she was like, oh, you have to use bias tape. I was like, I don't even know what that is. So that's how much of a beginner in terms of clothes I am. So I looked into it and I was, watching a bunch of YouTube videos and things like this. And it's exactly like doing the binding on a quilt. Once I kind of understood that concept, I was like, oh, I totally know how to do that. And I'm sorry, but people in fashion, you all have it easy. You just do. Why is that? I mean, to pick this little thing up and move it around the sewing machine is so easy. Oh my gosh, like trying to do a king-sized quilt through like a 14-inch throat of a sewing machine. Like, yeah, once you do that, get back to me and let me know how easy quilting is. So, anyways, that's what we're going to be doing today. Just a really quick tutorial on what I'm finding in terms of finishing this out, because if you did want to make it on the last video that I did, Captain Caftan, which created a lot of waves, it's totally fine. I'm here for all people. I hope you realize that. Whoever you are, whatever you do, I'm here to support you and tell you that you're awesome. Okay? So that's what we're going to be doing today, and I hope that you enjoy it, maybe learn something. If you've done clothes before, you're probably going to think this is ridiculous, but that's fine. It's just, I just post my learning curve, and I'm not afraid of that. I'm not shy about it. This is where I am in my sewing journey, and, it's just every day, learn something new, try it. Doesn't matter the end result. So long as you're trying, you're going to learn. Okay? And let's get started. So on this, I basically did the neckline like you would with a binding, right? But rather than, attaching it and doing it half like this, right? A normal binding would have it same front and back. I put it on there and then fully pulled it to one side, right? And then you end up with this finish. I don't know that I like this as much because you can see the sewing on the other side, because I didn't really take into account the fact that this side of the fabric is white. If I had to do it again, I think I'd do it per traditional binding, right? So that the sewing is essentially covered. Now, you're not going to get as wide, of a edging here, but that's okay. It just depends on how you want it done. Anyways, the person I did this one for, he's really happy with it, and so I'm just going to leave it the way that it is. I did trim on both of the sleeves, and then I did trim right up here. And again, a lot of these things really translate from regular quilting, right? Just do a kind of, edge here, right? That kind of divides it here. Essentially all you do is, let me show you how I did that. Okay, on this side, which is the inside, to kind of show you what I thought of, and again, I don't know if this is correct or not, but it's working for me, is to essentially, now there's an angle, right, to this cut. So if the whole thing is square, right, the two sides go up. So I just kind of followed that angle and then tried to mimic that angle with, you can see the way I drew it right here, in order to get that, so that when I opened it up, right, that it actually did lay flat, right? So it gives me this angle like that on either side, and I'm really pleased with the way that turned out. I think he's gonna like that a lot. Okay, let me show you something else. One more thing about this. Now, this is the bias tape that you can buy, right? And it just comes in these packages, and it's pretty much, again, just like traditional binding, only they fold it here. It's already pre-cut so that it is on the bias, easier to get around. Kind of small corners and edges like around here, up the neck, across the back, gives you a lot more flexibility. That being said, I made my own. Okay, so while you can buy this at the store, you know, kind of once I discovered what it was, I was like, why do I need you to do that for me? I'm totally capable of doing that. Why spend extra money? I got a whole stash of fabric in there. All right, so don't know if I'll buy that again. Okay, so for the trim, I mean, we all know how to do binding for a quilt, right? I'm not showing you anything you probably don't know how to do. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a 2-inch strip, right? Then essentially ironing it in half. And then let me show you how I'm applying it to the garment and what changes I'm doing differently from traditional binding. Now, if I was going to do it per traditional binding, I would cut this probably more like 4 inches, right, rather than 2, so that I have enough on the back and on the front in order to make it look cool. But let me show you what I'm talking about. On this neckline, in fact, on most of the necklines that I'm doing now, is I'm starting here, right, with an extra piece, right, and then I'm just going to take it up and around like you would normal binding, right, around the neck, and then coming back here to finish it off by essentially tucking one side under, right, and then folding this one over, and then just finishing it there, right? Of course, I'd have to cut off this little extra piece, but I think that that'll be really nice. I love taking the same fabric and essentially using it as the binding. This fabric's a little easier to work with because the contrast is not so great. On that last fabric, I wasn't taking into account that the inside was a completely different color, but this one you can see it's really working out, right? I really love the stripe of here, the way that this is contrasting here. And so once I finish this part here, I think it'll look really great. Looking at this sleeve, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn it inside out, right? Just like regular binding, I'm going to, you know, put it on here, right? And then turn it over. So let me attach it to the back side, right? This is the inside. And let me attach it to the back side, and then I'll show you how I'm putting it over. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my binding strip. And you're really going to want to leave a lot of extra here. Okay, so, you know, probably 2 inches. So I'm going to just start tacking this on here, start sewing this on here, and then go all the way around the armpit. And then I'll show you what we'll do next. I'm not sure that you can see this perfectly, but I will do my best to work the camera in here and hold it up once I'm done. So I am not rolling, right? So this is the edge of the garment, right? This is the binding. I'm not rolling this, but rather I'm just attaching it to the raw edge and just sewing that in place. Oh my hell. Don't even look behind me. Mess. I've been busy. But yeah, so I put it on, right, just a scant 1/4 of an inch, right? And so now it's ready to be turned over to the right side. The way that I finish it, you know how people, they don't really know how to do binding and they just kind of like put it square over top of the other one? That's kind of what I'm doing. I mean, yes, you could go through the whole process of doing, you know, the fitting in and the, you know, that you normally do with regular binding, but I'm not going to take the time to do that. So how I finished it is just like this, right? So this one is just flapping over there, and there's a little bit under there. And so once I get it turned over on the other side, I am going to just, finish that edge right there by just, sewing where essentially the raw edge by turning, this little bit under, and then, All right. So now that it is, right, attached here, I've turned it right side out. And so I'm ready to, now in traditional quilting, we would fold the binding in half, right? But what I'm kind of digging is that you take this and where you sewed, you actually make that the edge, right? And then you top stitch along the edge right there. And then again at the edge of the bind, it just gives you a little bit more of a more width, right, on your finished trim. And then you have good side, and then it's all secondary side on the back, right? So I'm kind of liking that. So I'm going to go and now iron it, right? So this is all in place, and I'm ready to top stitch it. Okay. All right, so I have this ironed all to one side, right? So again, it's not exactly like traditional quilting because we would do that in half, but I'm doing this whole thing, right? So the back of the fabric is all showing here. The front of the fabric just has the trim. I'm going to top stitch along the edge and then do a second pass closer to this edge. All right, I think that that'll look great, so I'm going to sew that now. I am coming in on the home stretch here. And so I just have these two kind of, loose and open, right? And so what I'm going to want to do is take the under one and tuck that under, right? And lay it against the seam. And it's going to go just there. And then do the same one on the other side and then, right, lay that down on top of it. Right? Obviously that'll be tucked underneath, but then also give this a little bit of a fold so that it's not raw edge there, and then just sew that all down. Okay, let's do that. All right, one more time. And again, you can do this more complicated, but I'm just going for simple. So the under one here, you tuck under, right? And then I'm going to take a pin and essentially pin it along the seam. And then take the over one, all right, actually I need to pin this a little further down here. Take the over one, it's going to be on top of that, and obviously the bottom one will be all tucked under this one nicely, and do the same thing, but fold this one just a tick under, like that, so it's all like that, and holding in place with a pin, nice and perfect for it to be sewn. All right, that is on. I think it looks pretty good, right? And it adds just a nice detail to the sleeve of that. And I top stitched it, right, twice. So once along here or on the edge, and then another on the other side just to tack it down. So I'm just going to continue to do that around the neck, the excuse me, the sleeves, and then the leg slits. And on the bottom, I'm not going to add that detail. That I am just going to roll twice, right, and then top stitch like I did this thing. All right, check it out. I think that does a good enough job for the trim, right? And then if you wanted to add additional trim, you can certainly do that as well. I bought a bunch of trim. It's kind of cool. All right, just like this detail. Like that would be cool. But I strongly suggest that you do this first, right? Don't cut any corners. Do this first, do it properly prior to adding in any additional, decorative trim or something like that on top of it, right? Okay, so that's kind of where we are. Let me put myself back into boy drag before I lose more subscribers.
So what, we're just not in this episode? Why is everybody around here so much work?
Anyhow, thanks for joining me today. I had fun. I hope you did too. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you just laughed at me. It's totally fine. Thanks for letting me be silly. It's kind of fun. I think a lot of people get thrown because I look pretty masculine, sure, until I speak or move. Just... Anyhow, one last thing before I go. Pottery fabric. If you want some, I have lots of extras. And I really got to get it out the door before my next line shows up here in the next few weeks. So if you want any of it, please let me know. It's $12.50 a yard. Also, if you want any of my patterns that use the pottery line, I will throw the pattern in for free if you purchase essentially the kit. Okay, so that's available too. Just let me know which you would like, and I will get that off to you. Just message me here on. Actually, Facebook would be the best place to do that. Okay, so that's what we got going on. I hope you had a good time. I sure did. I hope you, like I said, learned something. I'm learning as I go, and what we have to give, right? And so even if it's the tiniest clue that I have, I hope to share that with you and to let you know that you are awesome. I'll talk to you soon.